The Final Boss is back. It's go time. Season 3 is here. Are you tuning in? Every Sunday is Sitting Down Sundays with The Final Boss. Get ready for an inspiring journey as we dive deep into the transformation from the nation's capital to the entertainment capital of the world. This is the conversation that will ignite your dreams and fuel your ambitions. What you'll experience: game-changing insights from industry leaders, real talk about making impossible dreams possible, the blueprint for leveling up your life, motivation that hits different. This isn't just another podcast episode. This is your wake-up call to greatness. Don't just listen, absorb, don't just hear. Transform, don't just dream, execute. Drop a like in the comments if you're ready to level up with us.
Welcome to the Final Boss podcast. This is Sitting Down with the Final Boss Sundays. And boy, do I have an amazing show for you tonight. Like each and every night. I have an amazing show for you. An amazing show. But before we get started, thank you for everyone that's joining us. To each and every last single one of you that is here, I appreciate all of you, no matter where you are, no matter where you're tuning in at. We are, and no matter what platform you're looking at: Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Kick, Spotify, and next week. Finally, next week, we will be on Apple Podcasts. Now, there's one that we were on. I just got notification. We have been banned. We have been banned from the Clock app for telling the truth. We've been banned on the Clock app. Now, I didn't talk about anything like people, religion. I didn't talk about violence, anything nefarious in nature. I simply talked about what is already out there information-wise, because I researched it, and you can go research it, was the QFS, which is the quantum financial system. I got banned from off the Clock app for talking about the truth, ladies and gentlemen, final bosses, motivators, smarts, warriors, for talking the truth about the quantum financial system. Banned off the Clock app. But you know what? That is only going to amplify the voice because, and here's why. Because I'm only telling the truth. I'm only telling the truth. And the truth shall set you free. But you know what they say, man? I had a podcast recently episode where I discussed the freedom of speech. It may be the freedom of speech, but it is not free from consequence. And it is their platform. It is their platform. So what can I do about that when it's their platform? And clearly I didn't break any community guidelines, right? But certain pieces of the truth, I guess, shouldn't be told. But it's all good. It is all good, man. That lets me know that I'm doing something right. And with that, I'm here to tell you that it's still a great day. It is a great day, man. Let me tell you. And let that marinate in your spine. Let that marinate in your spine. And this is going to bring us to our episode of 136, man, on our way to episode number 200. Episode number 200. Again, that's only going to amplify the voice because that's what it does. But, these things shall to pass. They shall to pass, and man, I was blown away by that. But hey, it is what it is. So tonight's episode number 136, we are going with you know what? Let me get my admin notes out, man. That was part of my admin notes. I was a little flustered, but it's all good, man. It's all good. Please continue to like, share, and subscribe. Look, evidently I'm doing something right, so please continue to like, share, and subscribe to the information and make sure it's getting out there and keep it cycling, people. I appreciate all the DMs and all of the comments that you guys are leaving on all the various platforms. Please continue to do that. Make sure you shoot us an email if you have any questions or concerns, or you'd like to be on the show. Shoot us an email at info@TheFinalBossPodcast.com. That's info, INFO, at TheFinalBossPodcast.com. Make sure we get that, man, and email us, right? Email us. Go check out the website. If you haven't been on the website, go check out the website. The website is www.thefinalbosspodcast.com. One word, www.thefinalbosspodcast, one word. Go check out the website. You can reach and see each and every last single episode, and you get a brief synopsis of things to come. You can brief synopsis about the website and the Final Boss. But look, we got more in store for you. We got more information that we're going to be putting out there, man, including sponsors. Oh man. Yeah. Been super busy. Super busy. Look, that's our admin notes for tonight. Let's get into the brass tacks, man. The brass tacks comes from an Irish proverb. And here it is. A good laugh and a long sleep are the best cures. A good laugh and a long sleep are the best cures. So, tonight's episode, we're going to be talking about the sleep pandemic. The sleep pandemic, which is something that should be talked about because Americans are losing sleep every night. And if you compound that annually, and we're going to talk about how much sleep we're actually losing. And there's studies out there, man, that suggest, here's the thing, right? Like, just think about this. Right? Just think about this for a second. To my smarts, to my final bosses, to my warriors, just think about this. If you lose, it's 365 days in a year, right? You lose an hour's sleep every night. That's 365 hours that you've missed. Suppose that your life is already clocked in on, like, say, a certain amount of heartbeats, or how many summers you may have left, or how many hours you have to live. Think about that, right? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about, man. And look, I am the final boss, and this is where we have the most difficult of conversations, right? And tonight's no different. We're going to be diving deep into the effects that every single person who's watching the podcast right now or in the future should be thinking about. This isn't hyperbole, right? This isn't clickbait. This is legitimate public health crisis that's happening right underneath our noses, or should I say, right above our pillows. No pun intended. Right? We're talking about America's sleep deprivation pandemic. Let's see. Boom. Okay, that's nothing. Yes, that's what we're going to be talking about. Yes, I used the word pandemic. Yes, I did. Very intentionally, right? Very intentionally. While we've been focused on other health crises, Americans have been quietly or not so quietly, if you're one of the 50% who snore or who suffer from chronic sleep loss that's destroying our health or our productivity and quite literally our lives. So here's a stat, right? I broke down some information when we first started, but here's a stat, right, for you guys. Here's a stat for you to pay attention to. You wake up, right? You wake up, and ironically, and listen to this, more than 1/3 of American adults, that's almost 100 million people, are sleep deprived. These people, including myself, are getting less than the recommended 7 hours per sleep a night. And it's not getting better. Between the years of 2020 and 2022, the prevalence of short sleep duration increased by 10%. We're moving in the wrong direction, people. Today, right now, this minute, while you're watching, we're going to be discussing in this hour. And I'm going to be breaking it down to you. Staggering statistics that prove that this is a crisis. The economic devastation that's costing America over $411 billion annually. That's a big number. Anytime you mention a B, that's a big number. And it's 411 of them. That's a ginormous number. How lack of sleep is literally killing us through heart disease, diabetes, and cognitive decline. The workplace impacts that are costing 1.23 million, right? 1.23 million working days per year. And most importantly, what can we do about it? What can we do about it, right? So let's start with cold hard facts, cold hard numbers, because when you hear and see the data that I'm gonna lay out in front of you and lay it out, you'll understand why I'm calling this a pandemic, right? And first, let's talk about the current state of sleep in America. Current state of sleep in America, right? Stay with me. First, here's the big picture. Here's the big number. 36.8% of American adults are getting less than 7 hours of sleep per night. That's the age-adjusted prevalence of and that's as of 2022. And remember, that's up 10% from just 2020. We're not talking about more than 1 in 3 adults walking around chronically sleep deprived. That's not what we're talking about. But here's what we are talking about, because it gets worse. Between 50 to 70 million Americans suffer from active sleep disorders. And that's just not people who aren't getting enough sleep. These are people who are diagnosed with conditions like insomnia, sleep apnea, narcolepsy, and one of my favorite, restless leg syndrome. Right? And here's what got me thinking. Right? The average American is now sleeping 6.7 hours a night. 6.7 hours a night. Some of us sleep less than that. Right? Compare that to 1942, when Americans averaged 7.9 hours. That's a 13% decrease in sleep over the last 80 years. We've lost over an hour of sleep per night compared to our grandparents' generation. And for the kids that are our kids and their kids, it looks even worse. 72.7% of high school students aren't getting enough sleep on school nights. 72.7% of high school students aren't getting enough sleep on school nights. Most teenagers only get 6.5 to 7.5 hours of sleep when they should be getting at least 8 to 10. 3 out of 4 high school students reported inadequate sleep in 2015 during a study called the Youth Risk Behaviors Survey. This isn't evenly distributed across America either, right? Hawaii has the highest percentage. Hawaii has the highest percentage of sleep deprived adults at 43.2%. That's alarming. Followed by West Virginia at 42.5%. And then Kentucky at 42.1%. Meanwhile, Vermont has the lowest rate at 30.1%, with Minnesota following at 29.1%, and Colorado at an even 30%. So where you live actually matters, right? It actually matters. Though even in the best states, nearly 1 in 3 adults isn't getting enough sleep. And let me paint this picture for you, right? Let me paint this picture for you. You're probably like, oh, it's just sleep. Oh, it's just sleep. Oh, it's just sugar. Oh, it's listen, shut up, you ignorant. Stop talking. Stop being ignorant. Stop having those ignorant thoughts, because it matters. It absolutely matters. 40% of adults report unintentionally falling asleep during the day at least once in the last 30 days. 4.7% reported nodding off while driving. Do you know how many accidents that is? 4.7% of all adults reported nodding off while driving in the last 30 days. I don't know how many millions of adults are in this country, but if you figure out the number of how many adults are in this country, and almost 5% reported that they nodded off while driving in the last 30 days, that's alarming. That, my friends, is alarming. Nearly 50% of American workers report feeling tired during the workday due to insufficient sleep. This isn't just about feeling groggy in the morning. This is a systemic Yes, systemic. That's the word I wanted. This is a systemic crisis affecting every aspect of American life. Now, I mentioned how it's hitting people's pockets and hurting America financially as a whole, right? So let's talk about the money, because as serious as the health impacts are, sometimes the economic numbers are what finally get people's attention. And these numbers should absolutely terrify employers, policymakers, and anyone paying taxes, right? Lack of sleep, lack of sleep. I say again, lack of sleep costs the United States over $411 billion annually. 411 billies per year. Per year. That's more than the GDP of many countries. And that's real money being flushed down the drain because we're not prioritizing sleep, right? And I'm going to break it down a little bit further. 1.23 million working days are lost annually in the United States due to sleep deprivation. Yeah, that's you calling in because you didn't sleep last night and you tired. So you didn't go to work. You calling in sick. You calling in sick. 1.23 million work days of lost annual hours from sleep deprivation, right? 63.2 billion per year in lost productivity from insomnia alone. Workers who typically get poor sleep estimated at 7% of the US workforce. Jesus. Mm. And more than double the rate of unplanned absenteeism compared to other workers. And here's what's happening in the workplaces across America. 38% of employees experience fatigue while at work during a 2-week period. Over 50% of workers admitted to struggling to stay focused in meetings. People take longer to complete tasks when sleep deprived. There's a measurable challenge in generating new ideas and creative solutions. Reduced motivation to learn and inability to manage competing demands, all because you're sleep deprived, right? And let's look at the international numbers, right? And because this isn't just an American problem, it's global. Japan faces a substantial impact with around 604,000 work days lost annually due to sleep deprivation. But America leads the world in total economic losses. You want to know why your healthcare costs are going up? Well, here's one. Here's the reason. And why your healthcare is going up. Sleep disorders contribute to billions in healthcare spending. However, 90% of people with obstructive sleep apnea remain undiagnosed, meaning the actual costs are likely far higher than we're measuring. More than 60% of adults have never been asked about quality of their sleep by a physician. Fewer than 20% have ever initiated such a discussion, right? Sleep deprivation is expensive. It's expensive in a whole lot of ways. A whole lot of ways, right? Drowsy driving caused 693 deaths in the United States in the year 2022. That's 1.6% of all motor vehicle fatalities, right? Estimates suggest as many as 1,500 deaths and 40,000 personal injury accidents are caused by drowsy drivers annually. Over 100,000 in medical errors are attributed to sleep deprivation, leading to increased death cases and malpractice costs. 20% of all serious car crash injuries are associated with driver sleepiness. Think about the insurance costs, the legal costs, the human costs. This is money where spending becomes we're not sleeping. This is money. All right. This is money we're not spending because we're not sleeping. And here's what really gets me, right? This is almost entirely preventable. We're not talking about developing expensive new treatments or technologies. We're talking about sleep. Something everybody does every single night. We're talking about sleep. Something that's free and it's natural. Yet we're losing 411 billies a year because we've decided it's not important enough. Right? So how did we get to this point? How did sleep go from something our ancestors prioritized, right, to something modern Americans treat as an inconvenience? And speaking of which, I remember, man, my granddad, well, yeah, my granddad played that, man. Listen, your behinds was in bed at 9 o'clock. Granddaddy didn't play. 9 o'clock, lights out, silence. You wasn't talking on no phone. You wasn't watching TV. 9 o'clock, the whole house went black, except for when he was eating his desserts and pastries and sending everybody off in his little robe. That's why I have on my robe, right? Man, my granddad was something else, man. He loved his sweets, man. But I miss that guy. But look, in 1942, Americans slept an average of 7.9 hours per night. By 2013, that had dropped to 6.8 hours, a loss of 1.1 hours, representing 13% decrease in sleep time over roughly 70 years, right? But here's what's interesting. This isn't just about having electric lights or TVs. The acceleration has been dramatic in recent decades. We've lost more sleep in the past 40 years than the previous 40 combined. Stay with me. Right? There's several other major cultural changes that contributed to this crisis. And we all do this. I'm guilty. I'm super guilty. Now, let me tell you, I average around 4.5. I'm lucky to get more than 5 hours of sleep. I'm lucky to get more than 5 hours of sleep, right? We're part of this hustle culture, right? We're part of this hustle culture. This hustle culture mentality. Gotta get it, gotta get it, gotta get it. You gotta get it on your way to the grave. That's what you're doing. That's exactly what you're doing. And that, my friend, are bars. You got to getting it on your way to the grave. American culture increasingly rewards those who stay up working or socializing rather than sleeping. Being sleep deprived has become a badge of honor in many professional circles. You've heard the sayings, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Sleep is for the weak. Grind while they sleep. Meanwhile, you're dying. Right? And this belief is total nonsense. It's like overtime. I had a director who didn't believe in overtime, right? He would say, if you couldn't get it done in the 8 or 9 hours you were here, then maybe you need to do some reevaluating, right? So if you can't get done what you're trying to do in a lot of time that you need to get it in, maybe you need to do some reevaluating. And that goes for me too. That goes for me too. And I'm learning and I'm working through it, right? I'm trying to go to bed earlier, but it's hard, man. I'm gonna tell you, 5 hours, anything more than 5 hours, I just feel like the whole day is gone. But I'm working on it. But yeah, that's nonsense. and it's killing us. But it's been normalized. We're in this 24/7 economy. Sleep when you're dead. We've moved on to an always society, always on. Shift work has increased dramatically. International business means people are on calls. Hey, at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., I'm on calls talking overseas to my folks over in the East. The expectation of immediate response to emails and messages means work never truly stops. And when I tell you, my phone never stops. The notifications never stop, right? The proliferation of screens, right? Uh-oh, ding, 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 ding. The proliferation of screens has been devastating for sleep. 88% of U.S. adults lose sleep due to binge watching shows, blue light from devices, which suppress melatonin production, right? The average person checks their phone 96 times a day. Social media creates fear of missing out, FOMO, for those who like acronyms, FOMO. That keeps people awake. We're talking about increased work hours. Americans are working more hours than ever. Research shows that in addition to the workday averaging 9.5 hours, Americans are spending extra hours working from home each week, with sleep time reduced during those work days. Stress and anxiety, right? Modern life brings unprecedented levels of stress. Financial worries keep people up at night. When surveyed about bedtime worries, Americans cite inflation, inflation, C19, G violence, climate change, and elections as some of the top concerns of why people aren't sleeping. 50% of insomnia cases result from anxiety, depression, and psychological stress. And C19 had everybody tripping. Everybody was tripping during C19, right? It only made it worse. The insomnia prevalence rate among healthcare workers increased to 64% during the pandemic, up from 44.5% pre-pandemic. 80.9% of healthcare workers complained of poor sleep quality, up from 68.8% before pandemic. Daytime sleepiness increased from 75.9% to 82% during the pandemic among healthcare workers. 64.1% of healthcare workers reported difficulty initiating sleep during the pandemic, right? And here's what many people don't realize about sleep deprivation. It's not evenly distributed. It follows socioeconomic lines, right? Let's talk about night shift workers. Night shift workers are disproportionately affected. Lower income individuals often work multiple jobs with irregular schedules. Nurses and healthcare workers have an increased risk of sleep disorders and deprivation. Certain ethnic groups have higher rates of sleep deprivation due to systemic factors, right? And here's the bottom line. We've built a society that's actively hostile to sleep, right? We've created economic structures, work schedules, technologies, and cultural norms that are all pushing us away from getting adequate rest. And now we're paying the price in our health, in our wallets, and in our lives, right? Now let's get to the medical science. Let's get to the medical science of the matter. Because this is where things get real serious. So to my smarts, to my final bosses, to my warriors, to my motivators, get pen and paper, people. right? We're on this journey together. Oh, you know what? This is all for entertainment purposes only. If I didn't say that earlier, this is all for entertainment purposes only, right? Stay with me. Medical science. Sleep deprivation isn't just making us tired, it's actively destroying our cardiovascular system. And when I say destroying, I mean that literally. And here's some basic science about heart sleep connection. During normal, healthy sleep, your blood pressure drops. It drops down to let's see, 10 to 20%. This is called nocturnal dipping, and it's essential for cardiovascular health. It gives your heart and blood vessels a chance to recover from the stress of the day. When you don't get enough sleep, that recovery doesn't happen. It's like running your heart at high RPMs 24/7 without giving it time to cool down. You want to know where hypertension comes from? Well, sleep deprivation plays a huge part in hypertension. But sleep deprivation has long-term damaging effects on your heart and your circulatory health. People with chronic sleep deprivation are significantly more likely to develop high blood pressure, uh, i.e., hypertension. Raised daytime blood pressure has been identified as a direct consequence of sleep deprivation in multiple studies. The link between lack of sleep and high blood pressure is highest in middle-aged adults. And here's a significant finding that should concern each and every one of you guys, right? Research, man, research shows that sleep deprivation increases cortisol levels, which causes fluid retention and worsens extracellular volume expansion. Basically, your body holds on to more fluid, which increases blood pressure, right? And I don't even look. You want to talk about coronary heart disease? You do? Oh, okay. I will. Yes, I will talk about it. Yes, absolutely. That's what we do on the Fighter Boss podcast. We talk about these things. Coronary heart disease is the leading cause of death in the United States. And sleep is playing a huge, massive role in that. Adults with 5 hours of sleep or less have a 200 to 300% higher risk of coronary artery calcium buildup compared to those who sleep 7 to 8 hours. I'm guilty as charged. I'm guilty. A 2022 study found that middle-aged people with a combination of sleep issues, including sleeping less than 6 hours per night, may have nearly 3 times the risk of heart disease. 5 hours of sleep or less was associated with 45% increase in heart attack. These are odds and numbers that you cannot deny. And that odd ratio is 1.45. And this comes out of the Nurses Health Study, right? Now, let me give you some specific numbers from large epidemiological studies. I jacked that up. I'm not really good with medical terms, and I knew I was going to jack that up. But here it is. Sleep loss and sleep complaints are associated with heart attacks and stroke. Sleep deprivation increases blood pressure, which is the leading risk factor for strokes. By contributing to plaque buildup in the arteries, insufficient sleep makes it easier to blockages to occur, right? And why does this happen? Several biological mechanisms are at work. Sleep deprivation increases sympathetic nervous system activity that leads to elevated heart rate, increased blood pressure, reduced heart rate variability, a sign of poor cardiovascular health. Stay with me, good people. Stay with me. Chronic sleep deprivation triggers a state of chronic low-grade inflammation. Inflammation plays a key role in promoting arterial plaque formation. This increases the risk of cardiovascular events. Studies show increased levels of inflammatory markers after sleep deprivation. Sleep deprivation impairs the health of cells and the lining of blood vessels, results in reduced vascular capacity or vasodilation, increases vascular resistance, further promotes cardiovascular disease development. Sleep loss disrupts hormonal balance. Increased cortisol, the stress hormone, elevated cortisol contributes to insulin resistance, inflammation, and hypertension. All of these are risk factors for cardiovascular disease. And look, a recent study looked specifically at hypertensive heart disease. The clinical spectrum ranging from concentric remodeling to concentric and eccentric hypertrophy of the left ventricle, the odds of hypertensive heart disease were significantly higher in sleep-deprived patients. This was true for both primary and secondary diagnosis of sleep deprivation. Sleep deprivation is associated with poor blood pressure control and end organ damage. One study put it this way: sleep neglect may be as bad as cardiovascular neglect. Think about that. Think about that for a second, right? Not taking care of your sleep is equivalent to ignoring your heart health entirely, right? And here's fascinating. Something fascinating. Everything's fascinating. Here's something that's fascinating and terrifying. Example of how even the smallest amount of sleep disruptions affect the heart. Think about when clocks spring forward in March for daylight saving time. We lose just 1 hour of sleep. Studies show that leads to more people at risk of heart problems, an increase in number of heart attacks in the days following. Look, people, you can go look this information up. It's out there, right? It's out there. 1 hour, that's all it takes to trigger measurable increases in heart attacks. Now imagine what chronic sleep deprivation of 1 to 2 hours per night, every night for years is doing to your cardiovascular system. If the cardiovascular impacts weren't enough, let's talk about how the sleep, excuse me, sorry. Sleep deprivation does to your metabolism and your risk of diabetes. Because this is where things get even more concerning for public health, right? And here it is. Sleeping just 5 to 6 hours a day doubles the risk of being diagnosed with pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes compared to sleeping 7 to 8 hours a day. According to a study from 2021 in the review of the Journal of Endocrinology. Let me repeat that. Doubles the risk. That's 100% increase in diabetes risk just from insufficient sleep. Type 2 diabetes isn't just about blood sugar. It's a gateway disease that dramatically increases your risk for heart disease, stroke, kidney disease, blindness, nerve damage, amputation. People with diabetes are twice as likely to die from heart disease or stroke compared to people without the condition. So when we talk about sleep deprivation increasing diabetes risk, we're really talking about increasing mortality risk across multiple categories. And studies have found that a lack of sleep worsens glucose metabolism. Poor sleep is associated with prediabetes. Glucose intolerance that doesn't yet meet parameters for diabetes, and chronic sleep deprivation is associated with disturbances in glucose metabolism and insulin sensitivity. Multiple studies have documented this information that I'm presenting to you. Sleep deprivation leads directly to insulin resistance. That, my friends, is a fact. That's a fact. Obstructive sleep apnea is associated with impaired glucose tolerance and insulin resistance. The Sleep Heart Health Study found relationships between sleep-related hypoxemia and glucose intolerance. Hey, look, if I jack up a medical term, we all do it. We all do it. Even, never mind. But it happens. Sleep loss disrupts critical hormones. Disruption of the body's normal hormonal regulation results from insufficient sleep. This is similar to the mechanisms causing obesity, which is also closely linked to, guess what? Ding, 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 ding. You guessed it, type 2 diabetes. Elevated cortisol levels from sleep deprivation contribute to insulin resistance. And here's the connection of how it affects obesity. Here's where things get interconnected, because sleep deprivation increases your risk of obesity, and obesity dramatically increases diabetes risk, right? A person who sleeps less than 6 hours a night has a 13% higher mortality risk than those who sleep 7 to 9 hours. Sleep deprivation is linked to significantly increased risk of obesity. People who sleep less than 7 hours per night are more likely to have higher body mass index, which is your BMI, right? Insufficient sleep is strongly associated with unhealthy levels of cholesterol and triglycerides, right? Sleep helps regulate hormones that control hunger. Insufficient sleep upsets appetites, right? And it upsets regulating hormones like leptin and ghrelin. Leptin tells you when you're full. Ghrelin tells you when you're hungry. When these are out of balance, you overeat, right? You have increased cravings due to lack of sleep. Triggers of overeating boost the desire for high-calorie foods, reduce willpower to resist unhealthy food choices. When you're exhausted, you're less likely to exercise. Your body burns fewer calories overall. You're more likely to choose sedentary activities, right? Sleep deprivation doesn't just cause one problem, it triggers a cascade of problems. Sleep deprivation equals insulin resistance. Insulin resistance equals higher blood glucose. Higher blood glucose equals pre-diabetes equals type 2 diabetes. Sleep deprivation equals weight gain. Weight gain equals more insulin resistance. Insulin resistance plus obesity equals metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome equals cardiovascular disease. This is a vicious cycle, people. It's a vicious cycle. And sleep deprivation is the trigger that starts the whole thing. The Sleep Heart Health Study a large cross-sectional community-based study using um, polysomnonal graphy found this. Higher hypoapnea index, more sleep disruption equal more prevalent glucose intolerance. A relationship between sleep-related hypoxia, low oxygen during sleep, and glucose intolerance. These findings have implications for understanding mechanisms behind OSA glucose intolerance link, right? Yeah. Sleep deprivation also affects metabolic health through the immune system. Immune response may be impaired by sleep loss. Metabolic challenges and changes such as insulin resistance often occur. Your body's natural defenses against infections can't work properly if you aren't getting enough sleep, right? And here's what that means. Here's what that means. If you're trying to prevent or manage diabetes, you're trying to lose weight, or if you're trying to improve your metabolic health, sleep has to be a priority. No amount of diet or exercise can overcome chronic sleep deprivation when it comes to metabolic health. We're not talking about a minor risk factor. We're talking about sleep being potentially as important as diet and exercise for metabolic health, or even it may be even more important, right? Now, look, sleep deprivation does a number on your brain because it affects every single thing you do every single day. And the research here is absolutely clear. Sleep deprivation devastates cognitive performance across virtually every domain. First and foremost, total sleep deprivation impairs attention and working memory. And here's some of the effects of that. It causes long-term memory loss, decision making, judgment, alertness, problem solving, creativity, emotional processing, reaction times. Essentially, every cognitive function we rely on to navigate daily life is compromised by insufficient sleep. This is most consistently and severely affected in this domain right here, right? Because vigilance is especially impaired by sleep deprivation. Declines are also observed in auditory and visuospatial attention. Serial addition and subtraction tasks show impairment, math skills, and different reaction time tasks all show slower responses, right? Slow reaction speeds increase lapses, which is mixed responses, and these deficits accumulate with continued sleep deprivation. Your working memory, the cognitive domain responsible for temporarily holding information available for processing, is severely affected. And in-back style tasks show impairment. Choice reaction time tasks with working memory components show deficits. Working memory is involved in transitioning information to long-term memory. So, sleep loss affects both immediate and future memory function, people. Right? And this is how it affects long-term memory. Because sleep plays a key role, a critical role in memory consolidation, right? Both NREM and REM sleep appear important for memory consolidation. NREM sleep is linked with declarative memory, which is your facts and statistics. REM sleep is believed to boost presurgery memory, presurgery memory, sequences of steps. Poor sleep impairs memory consolidation by disrupting the normal process. And here's something truly disturbing. Studies have found that people who are sleep deprived are at risk of forming false memories. Think about those implications. Eyewitness testimony becomes unreliable. Professional decisions are based on faulty memories. Personal relationships suffer from misremembered conversations. Right? Damn. I should be a lawyer. I just thought about something. Decision making. Decision making is among the cognitive and behavioral processes most severely hampered by prolonged sleep deprivation. After one night of sleep deprivation, performance deficits appear on simulated marketing games involving complex variables. There's a decrease in ability to assess facial expressions, an increase in using stereotypes and racial biases and evaluations, an increase in taking the easier solution to solving an interpersonal problem. Basically, sleep deprived people make worse decisions in every domain tested, right? Now, look, we got a few more minutes, and I am nowhere near finished this conversation. Nowhere near. But I'm going to get some of these points out, and then we're going to close out. And maybe we revisit this. Maybe we will revisit this, right? And here's a comparison that should shock you. 17 hours of sustained wakefulness, like a long day in the office, results in behavioral changes equivalent to drinking 2 glasses of wine. Would you come to work after drinking 2 glasses of wine? Some of you do. I know you do. Yeah, I smelled it on your breath. Would you come to work after drinking 2 glasses of wine? Would you drive? Would you drive after 2 glasses of wine? Would you perform surgery, make financial decisions, or operate machinery after drinking? Of course you will, because you're good Americans. You wouldn't do that, right? Or you're good people in general, not just singling anybody out. Yet, millions of Americans are doing exactly that. Functionality impaired, but without the alcohol. Right? Now, listen. This subject right here, I could talk all night. I could talk all night. I could drop all the facts. I could tell you the do's, the don'ts, the what have yous. And it may resonate, it may not. You may be like, ooh, whip-dee-doo. But this is important. Sleep is important. Anytime I know for a fact what I feel like when I have proper rest versus when I wake up and I feel exhausted. How you wake up feeling exhausted? I'm telling you, it affects things. My motor skills are off. My vision, my mental clarity is off. These things are happening, and I'm not a young huckabuck anymore. No, I'm good and grown. Good and grown. Right? Now, I think I'm going to, because we didn't get through or get to talk about any of the things that we can do to prevent or increase our sleep or develop healthy sleep patterns. So I'm going to do a part 2 on this. I'm going to do a part 2 on this. Final bosses, motivators, smarts, and warriors. Final boss family in general. I'm gonna do a part 2 of this because Although we did do a deep dive and we talked about a lot of the health effects that sleep deprivation causes, we didn't get to the nitty gritty on a lot of different issues. And we were just talking about how it affects decision making, right? But we're going to hone back in on this on another episode. I haven't decided yet, but I'll let you know. Keep looking out for the information as I push it out on all the social media platforms, right? And I'm gonna bring it home. I'm gonna bring it home right now with a clear call to action, right? But be mindful that we're coming back because information without action is just entertainment, and this is too important to just be entertainment. And we talked about all the different numbers, how is affected chronically sleep deprived. We've talked about the 411 billies. We talked about 1.23 million deprived work days. We talked about how it's killing us: heart disease, diabetes, stroke, obesity, cancer. We didn't get to Alzheimer's. We will, yes. And you know what? We didn't talk about cancer either. So we'll be back. We're definitely going to be back. And it's destroying our productivity. It's devastating our mental health. And 57 million Americans have sleep disorders that are undiagnosed. And not to talk about the car accidents and people falling asleep behind the wheel. So we're definitely going to come back and jump on this subject. And I'm excited, man. I hope you guys are too. But remember, individual change isn't enough. We need systemic change. We need systemic change, man. And that's what this is all about. That's what the Final Boss is all about. I'm still blown away that I got banned off the clock app. I can't believe that. But telling the truth about the digital currency and the quantum financial system. I got banned off TikTok for that. Damn it. Didn't mean to say TikTok. The clock app. But it's two shot pass. But listen, people, this isn't a this is a public health crisis. It's not an exaggeration. It's a real crisis that's killing Americans. It's costing us billions and it's destroying quality of life. But unlike many public health crises, the solution is largely in our control. This one we can control. We don't need expensive treatments. We don't need to wait for government action. We don't need breakthrough technologies. We need to prioritize our sleep as individuals, as employers, as educators, as a society as a whole. And my challenge to you in the next 30 days is try to get some good sleep, man. Try to develop proper sleep hygiene. Create a schedule and stick by it. Create a good sleep environment. Have a good wind down routine. Wind down routine. No screens before bed. And make sure you're addressing. Look, we've become a caffeine society, caffeine and alcohol. Make sure you're addressing those issues. Track how you feel, your energy levels, your mood, your productivity, your physical health, your mental clarity, right? And I guarantee if you do these things consistently for 30 days, you'll see dramatic improvements. And if you don't, then you likely have a sleep disorder and need medical evaluation. Either way, you win by taking action. We spend 1/3 of our lives asleep. 1/3 of our life. We spend 1/3 of our lives asleep. Why not make it important? Right? That's not time wasted. That's time invested in being able to function during the other 2/3. You cannot be a final boss, motivator, smart, or warrior, or even the best version of yourself if you're chronically sleep deprived. You cannot perform at your peak, make the best decisions, or be your best self for you and your family, or achieve your goals if you're running on empty. Sleep is not optional. It's foundational. It's foundational. And that is our show for tonight. I will be back. And you let all that marinate in your spine. Let that marinate in your spine, because there's a heavy, and let this marinate in your spine. There's a heavy pain that comes with discipline, but the pain of regret is even heavier, my good people. And this has been the Final Boss Podcast. This is the Final Boss Nation, Final Boss family. We are in this community and journey together, right? And this Sunday, as all Sundays, this has been Sitting Down Sundays with the Final Boss, episode number 136. I am the Final Boss, and I hope this conversation has opened your eyes, ironically, so you can close them tonight and get some proper rest. Make sure you go like, share, subscribe this episode to everyone, because everyone needs to hear this. Share it with your employer. Share it with your school. Share it with your doctor. Let's start a movement. Let's make sleep a priority again in America. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you guys next Sunday for Sitting Down Sunday with the Final Boss. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for Motivation Monday. And then again on Tuesday for Tech Tuesday with my Text Me, the Sensei. And then again on Thursday with Special Guest Thursday. Some references and resources for tonight's show. You can go read the Sleep Advisor from 2024, right? Sleep Foundation of 2025, Sleep Statistics. Centers of Disease Control and Prevention 2024 about sleep, that article. New U.S. News 2024, the most sleep-deprived states. And here's another one. I got plenty, but here's another one. America's Health Rankings. Explore insufficient sleep in the United States. So, thank you for each and every last single one of you for tuning in to the Final Boss Podcast. No matter where you are, no matter what platform you're watching on, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. This is the Final Boss Podcast. Be balanced, be equal, and be smart. And that, my friends, is our show for tonight. Y'all have a blessed one.
Welcome to the Final Boss Podcast, where microphones and mushroom clouds collide in the most mind-blowing chats. We're talking explosive topics, fiery debates, and the hottest guests. Imagine a creative space background, spacey vibes, and out-of-this-world conversations. It's like chilling with your best buddies, but with way cooler sound effects. Every episode, we take on the universe's biggest questions. You know, the stuff that keeps you up at night. And we do it with a bang. Want to know what happens when you mix gaming, movies, and pop culture? Boom! You get the Final Boss Podcast. So plug in those earbuds and get ready for a wild ride. Whether you're commuting, chilling, or just need a break, we've got your back. Hit that follow button and join us on this cosmic journey. Trust me, you don't want to miss these explosive chats. Catch the Final Boss Podcast now, where every episode is a blast. Stay tuned and stay awesome. Final Boss Podcast, bringing the boom to you.